Welcome to Dear Book Coach. I'm Terry Thayer, author, certified book coach, certified focusing professional, and quilter. My favorite genre to read is mystery.
I am Carrie Savage, a writer and book coach, certified book coach. My favorite genre, because I'm writing historical, I'm going to say historical, but that's a real tough one. Probably depends on the day. Stephanie?
I'm Stephanie Detlefs, writer and book coach, and my favorite genre is contemporary fiction for all ages.
Okay. This is a friendly advice space for you as you plan, draft, and revise your novel. In each video, we'll answer a question submitted by a writer like you from 3 different perspectives, and you get to pick the advice that works for you. Today's question comes from Charles. Dear book coach, why should I worry about genre? My story is unique and undefinable. It has elements of mystery, fantasy, romance, and science fiction. It takes place in many locations as my protagonists time travel. Why should I pigeonhole it? I can't be pinned down. Carrie?
So I guess, Charles, at the very, very top level, I would say if you really don't want to pin yourself down, you don't have to. However, there are a lot of consequences to not choosing a genre. And if you want to sell your book on a traditional publishing path, you certainly are going to need to pick a genre. If you want to help readers connect with your book before they've opened it, and I mean that on a couple of different levels, you're going to need to understand and respect the conventions and expectations of genre. So you need to pick one. I need to say though, in saying that, like, it doesn't pigeonhole your book if that's what you're concerned about. And certainly you're not the only one I've heard say that. What it does is it tells people in the publishing business and in readers that you understand the conventions of genre, you understand the publishing business, you understand how it works, you understand how people buy books, how people sell books. And so choosing a genre is going to help people, whether that is, again, people in the publishing industry, booksellers, readers, find and consume your book. If you break the rules or expectations of a genre, which you absolutely can do, you need to be clear on why you've done so. If you're just doing it willy-nilly, it's going to show in the writing, and that's going to be frustrating for readers. Being able to articulate what the rules are, why you've broken them, where you've broken them, that's going to be a sort of a safeguard for you to make sure that you understand what you're doing, and it's going to ensure that your writing is strong. And just going back to second to what I was saying about readers, if you don't choose a genre, people aren't going to be able to find your book. More and more book selling is done online. People when they're looking online, they're going to look for genre. They think, oh, I want a mystery or I want a historical. They're very likely not going to be like, I want that book by Charles, this writer I've never heard of before. It's just how books are organized and bought and sold. So if you don't choose a genre, you're going to make it much, much harder for people to find you, whether you go the traditional publishing path or whether you choose to self-publish. And as I said, but it's worth reiterating, if you don't choose a genre or you choose one randomly without knowing why or what is expected in that genre, you're going to frustrate and annoy your readers because they're going into a mystery or a historical or a romance expecting certain things. And if you don't deliver on those things, even if you're just turning them on their head, that's going to frustrate them. So that seemed like a little bit of a rant, but obviously I feel a little bit strongly about this. Stephanie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad you're delivering the tough love, Carrie, because it is such an important thing to understand the expectations of the marketplace. Like, we don't want to think about that as creatives. We don't want to think about it as artists, but we have to if we want our books to reach readers. So there are books out there that have found whatever level of success that do bend or break genre rules. And I say I love quirky books that don't quite fit the mold of what you're expecting. I do tend to really enjoy those. But I really firmly believe that you cannot pull that off unless you understand the rules well enough to break them. You have to, like Carrie has already said, you have to understand the mechanics of the different genres. Some have more specific mechanics than others. There are some genres that are a little more formulaic than others, and it's important to know that as well. Writers who do this kind of genre bending, genre breaking work successfully have already studied and written in specific genres. And so they understand what they're doing when they're playing with it. And they also understand the risk that they're taking. And so I think that's really important to have that point of view as well. Now, I'll also say that, you know, you listed several genres that your book dabbles in. And I think it's important to note that most books do have elements of different genres. Like a science fiction book may likely include some romance or some suspense. Like those things are built into all of the genres. So it doesn't mean that you can't have romance, for example, if you're not writing a romance book. Romance is pronounced that weird, but there does need to be a primary genre that serves as the backbone or the spine of your book. And then you can add in those other elements as it serves your story. You didn't really ask this, but I'm just going to say that I think it's important to explore how well you understand the different genres that you've listed, because it's possible, like I kind of already said, but it's possible that you think science fiction means one thing when it actually means something different. So make sure that as you list all those elements, look at the structures of your specific genres that you think you're dabbling in and deeply understand them. And finally, I would just say to ask yourself what your goals are for this book. At the end of the day, you are in charge of your story. Like Carrie said first, you can do whatever you want. You can write this story however you want. If your goal is just to write it and give it to your friends and family on a holiday as a holiday gift, then that's great. Go for it. Do what you want. But if your goal is to have it out in the larger world, maybe published traditionally or even self-published, but you want it to be on bookshelves, then you're going to need to understand the bigger picture about the system of book selling. And genre is a really big part of that, because we want you to have a satisfying experience with publishing your book. So that's what I have to say. Terry, how about you?
That's really, really good advice from both of you. And I think whichever way you publish, you want readers. And the problem with genre, or the thing with genre, is readers have expectations. And I ran into this writing my own books, and I wrote the book I wanted to see on the shelf, which was a mystery, which was about women doing quilting. And what I didn't know was that there was this genre called cozy mystery, which was, in my opinion, a bit of a ghetto for women writing about women doing things that women like to do. But it was a whole genre. It has its own convention. It's a very well-established genre. I did not know this, and I wrote the book I wanted to write. And not unsurprisingly, the main publishers turned it down. And I found an independent publisher that published it, and that was all well and good. I could leave in whatever I wanted, which included some sex scenes. So my first Amazon review was a 1-star review, not because the writing wasn't good or the protagonist wasn't fun or the mystery wasn't, mysterious enough, but because the protagonist had premarital sex. And that 1-star review stayed up on Amazon for a long time. And I don't know how many readers it cost me, So I went on to write another series with a big publisher that publishes a lot of cozy mysteries. And by then I understood the genre a little bit more, because they specifically told me no sex, no violence, everything has to stay off the page. She can have a boyfriend, but they can't do anything that we see. So I went on to write 3 books in that series. But I was interested in writing about bigger issues. I had couple of gay dads in my book. I had the community's problems with meth in my book, in my cozy mystery. I think the end of my contract came when I blew up grandparents in a barn at the end of the 3rd book. And my contract wasn't renewed. And, you know, it's funny, but it actually stalled my career out pretty hard. And it was all because I did not understand what they were looking for. The writing was good. I have what's up? No. Oh, I have a good review from Kirkus on the first one in that series. Got a starred review from Kirkus, but it didn't matter. It was not what the publisher was looking for. But more than that, it was not what the readers were looking for. So you may lose contracts, but you really don't want to lose readers. That's the main thing. So genres are there because readers know what they want and know what they like. So find your way to find a genre that you like. Just explore what you like, and then you can write the book that you want within some confines of a genre. That's, I think, the best way for success.
Well,
sad tale.
No, sorry, Terry, that happened.
Yeah, I think that it's, you know, that's what people, when we're in the throes, as Stephanie, you were saying, of creativity and have that author hat on, it's not the thing that we want to think about. And like you said, Terry, you want to tell the story that you want to tell. And I know, in fact, that none of us are saying that you shouldn't do that. But you need to understand what the consequences are and figure out where, you know, where you're willing to compromise and where, you know, things might be worth sacrificing in your creative side to, you know, fit yourself into the marketplace.
Yeah.
And I personally would love to read a story about quilters blowing up grandparents in barns.
Well, and I did
grandparents. I don't want to blow them
poor
up.
grandparents.
I know, me too.
They were so sweet. But I did find an independent publisher that published my quilting books just as I wrote them, and they did find readers, you know, but not as many as I would have if I was with the big publisher. So that's
so there you go.
It comes back to the goals, what your goal is for this book.
It's true.
Exactly. Well, that is it for today. We hope you found an answer that made sense to you at this point in your life and at this point in your book. Remember that you can submit your question anytime at dearbookcoach.com, and we will see you next time. Bye.